customary practice in Israel was, if the groomsman's friends and family got real nosy and just kept pressing him about what the time of his wedding, when his wedding was supposed to be, you know what he would tell him? No man knows but my Father. No man knows but my Father. My Father knows when I can come back and take my bride. But nobody besides Him knows. So go ask my Father. And that's how He would deal with inquiries about His coming nuptials. For the bride, this betrothal, this time of separation was a time of purification and anticipation. Now, guys, the romance novels of our day have nothing on what I'm about to go through here. I'm talking nothing. This is romantic beyond anything you're going to read in a Harlequin romance novel. While they're separated, this bride, in anticipation, is waiting for the return of her bridegroom. Because she is betrothed, she is declared and considered to be consecrated and sanctified and set apart exclusively for her groom. She would undergo a mikveh, which was a Jewish custom of a purifying bath where she would cleanse and purify herself over a period of days. She was preparing to present herself before her bridegroom. When she would go out in public, when she would leave her father's house and go out in public, she would wear a veil over her face. Up until this point, the young virgin had not done that. But at the time of her betrothal, she begins to wear a veil over her face. And as she goes out into the marketplace and into the agora, the streets there in Jerusalem, with that veil over her face, that tells everyone that she comes in contact with that she is betrothed. She is given to a man. She is consecrated. She is sanctified. She is set apart unto one man. It signified that she was bought with a bride price. And everyone who saw that woman with that veil understood she has been purchased. She's consecrated. She's sanctified. She's set apart. She would resist all advances. If young men would make advances toward her, if they would try to engage her in conversation and engage her in romantic things, she would resist that. And she would say, no, I'm espoused to one husband, and I am keeping myself for him. It was a time of undistracted devotion for this young bride to be. Now here's another really, really cool part. She did not know when her groom was going to return to take her. She knew he was coming. She was wearing the deposit around her neck or on her finger. She was wearing the guarantee. And she was basking in the glorious anticipation of this man coming back to receive her as his bride. But she didn't know. Consequently, she was always preparing. She was always keeping herself ready for that moment when he would return. She kept herself pure. She went through the ritual washings. She preserved her mind and her soul and her spirit and dedicated herself entirely to giving herself pure and without spot to this coming groom. Part of her preparation was that because the bridegroom in ancient Israel often returned in the wee hours of the night to claim his bride, when it was very, very dark, she would keep by her bedside a lamp filled with oil, so that if her bridegroom came, she but lit that lamp and she was ready to go out and meet her groom. She was always ready, always prepared. She kept that lamp at hand. So the betrothal period was an unspecified time of separation during which the groom would prepare a place for his bride, and the bride would purify herself in anticipation of the return of her groom. Now we come to the Jewish custom of the nishuin, or the nuptials, or the taking of the bride. The taking of the bride. When the groom's father deemed that the chuppah, or the bridal chamber, was ready, he would give the word to the groom. And as I've already stated, the groom would go to take his bride, usually during the very dark hours of the night. And he would set out from his father's house with an escort of his groomsmen and his family with him, and he would proceed through the darkened streets of Jerusalem there with torches. Keep in mind, the bride has no idea of exactly when he's coming. But she's ready, she's waiting, she's anticipating. As the groom would draw near to the bride's house, one of his attendants would blow a trumpet called a ram's horn, a shofar. He would blow this loud trumpet, and a groomsman would shout, "Behold, the bridegroom comes." The bride would hear that shout. She would hear the sound of that trumpet. She would spring from her bedchamber. She would light her lamp, and she would rush out with great joy to meet her bridegroom. The objective here, here's some more of your genuine, godly, biblical romance here. The objective here was for the groom to surprise the bride and to whisk her away to his father's house. He was going to surprise her and take her, and she would be immediately rushed away. With the wedding party and her family in tow, they would all head back to the groom's father's house.